Well, here it is, finally, my Venus retrograde report. So this beginning part is going to be sort of my point form, abstract themes that are all going to be covering because I have so many notes, it's insane. Venus has been in Gemini since the beginning of April, and we're not going to be out of the effects of Venus in Gemini and the retrograde until we hit about the first week of August. So because it is Venus, it is about partnership. It's about love. It's about all kinds of relationships. The ideals of love, the mystical, all of the different forms of love that have been articulated by the ancient Greeks. It's an amazing time for creativity. It's an amazing time for art, for poetry, for music. This is also a great time for digital communication. So if you're developing apps, software, there's a synergy happening between Venus and Mercury. And so anything that has to do with social media, especially social media, this is a great time for YouTubers. It's a great time for people promoting themselves on the internet. It's also a great time for learning, education in your particular field, whatever that is. Training, reviewing, upgrading your credentials. Excellent time for study. But this is the idea phase, the brainstorming phase, so that when the planets are moving forward again, we have all the information that we need. We've gathered all the tools necessary, and we can now proceed with a far more refined, reorganized, and workable plan to move forward. People who are on a spiritual path, who are stepping into their gifts and abilities in this regard, those who are seeking a deeper communion with the divine are likely going to find it. And then, the more vain things, because it is Venus and Venus is retrograde, it's a really bad idea to do impulsive haircuts, hair color, tattoos, all of that kind of thing. If you're going to do that kind of thing, it's because you've been working with somebody for a while on your design. Otherwise, you're really taking a chance. Be very careful about things like identity theft, especially if that's something that you've already been through. Venus in Gemini is going to stimulate a need for more freedom in relationships. So open relationships, all sorts of new sort of alternative ways to conduct relationships in this day and age. And, these things are already happening, but they're definitely going to get more support. Gemini is all about social. This is the season of the sapiosexual. So intellect is going to be an important factor in attraction. It's really not the best time to start a relationship. And in fact, it seems as though the theme of this particular Venus retrograde in Gemini is the kind of thing that's actually going to break relationships apart. We're looking at a lot of temptation towards toxic habits such as codependency, deceit, betrayals, acting out, and the danger zones for acting out are going to be anywhere from the last week of May through until mid-June. And again, there's this tendency towards impulsivity. And indiscretions, infidelity, love triangles. All of these things are definitely possible. It's not about preventing karma. It's about focusing on the karma that we've come here to deal with. If your relationship is not sturdy going into this transit, you're probably going to be dealing with a complete and total breakdown. But it's important to trust that this is divinely orchestrated, that whatever is leaving, the better you get at letting go of it, the faster you're going to get to your next destination in your story. The other kinds of low vibrational things is going to be entitlement. It's going to be acting out under the stress of being confined for so long. I'm also anticipating that by the way that the astrology is working, that something is going to happen in the collective that's going to actually make the lockdown even tighter. If we learn not to become attached to certain outcomes, we'll see that there's been a natural course of events that have been set into motion. So depending on your sign, the focus is going to be maybe a little bit different than somebody else, but these are just the general themes that we're all passing through right now through the collective. So how that applies to you is going to be your personal experience. It's ultimately your choice as to how you want to deal with the energies that are present for you now. So when we get to the mid-June zone, things are going to get pretty uncomfortable for most of us. That uncomfortability is about moving us out of whatever we've become too comfortable with. The other things that we need to be careful of is how we're dealing with truth in our lives and whether we're sticking closer to wishful thinking. But what all of this is bringing us to our sense of our own truth. We know what truth feels like. We know when we're living it, and we know when we're not. Venus retrograde in Gemini is going to encourage reason over passion. At the end of the day, self-love leads to better relationships across the board. Self-care is everything right now. And the more you take care of yourself, the more it's going to change the energy of all your relationships. It is your responsibility to put yourself first. We're all at different stages of learning, and it's going to be important through all of the tension that we're all going to be feeling to be compassionate to each other and to not get stuck in that thought pattern of, I'm in this all by myself. We are all walking a similar path. We're just expressing it in different storylines. So there's my all over the board themes for Venus retrograde. I'm going to be covering a lot more of these dynamics when I hit the new moon in Gemini report, when I hit June's report. We're going to be talking about Venus retrograde all summer long. So stay with me and enjoy your reading. Hey there, Aries, and here is your tailor-made Venus retrograde reading. So before I get to the cards, I'm going to give you the astrological specific information because this Venus retrograde in Gemini is happening in your third house of communication. You're also in a really good position on the wheel with Gemini, so the energies are going to favor you for sure. The one thing, so this is the third house of communication and learning, if I didn't already say that. But the thing that you need to be cautious of is that Mars and Neptune are in your 12th house. So that's going to make you feel hazy about your spirituality, even about your mental health at times. And it's going to be tough on partnerships and friendships. So in addition to the Venus and Gemini situation in the retrograde, you have that extra little bit that's kind of, it's like, so if you're feeling like, well, I don't know about this Venus and Gemini retrograde thing, I don't know. It's really Mars and Neptune that are messing with you if you're feeling a little out of balance. So let's just jump straight into the cards and see what the tarot has to say for you for this Venus retrograde period. So, yeah, this video will be relevant to you through until the beginning of August. So watch out for the dates that I highlighted earlier, and keep your eye on the moon. It's always a good idea to keep your eye on the moon, and not a bad idea to check out what Mercury is doing these days as well, because there's a symbiotic relationship between Venus and Mercury right now. They've got a real synergy thing happening. So if you are doing anything online, you're likely to experience a fair amount of success with it. So that's where you may want to focus your energy. Nope. There we go. So I'm doing a 9-card spread with my Klimt tarot deck, clarifying with my Rider-Waite tarot deck, and then we'll get some symbolism from Lenormand and see what chakra you need to be working on. All right, I'll take those. And what are the surrounding energies for Aries? 8 of Swords. So, lockdown, quarantining, restricted movement. We all know how much Aries enjoys that. Okay, so at the center, we have the King of Wands. So, Aries, you're feeling like you in a big way. Big time. You got the Fool card as well. But you're keeping a lot of stuff to yourself as well these days. You're keeping to yourself. You're not, you're not in any rush to go anywhere, which is good for a change. You've just come out of a period of some fairly high anxiety around some grief that could have to do with an earth sign. So Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. But at this point, it's kind of like you're all you. So what's happening in the future for you? Well, we're looking at the Four of Cups. So, in the Tower, you're not the only one. Lots, I think I had at least 2 or 3 readings where the Tower showed up in the future. This could be involving an air sign. So that's an Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini. And it's either a dynamic of you're missing something, like it's right in front of you, kind of missing it, but you're not seeing it, or you're not feeling appreciated to the degree that you should. And all of these things are culminating into a Tower moment to shake things up. Towers don't necessarily have to be bad. Sometimes it, can open the door to a real gold mine. So, what do I want to clarify first? Let's clarify the Tower. Let's just focus. Look at that. Cycled me right back to the Nine of Swords that's in the past position in your reading. So, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe the cards are telling me, let's clarify that first Nine of Swords. I love the cards. It's all them, it's not me. Oh, 2. So, something that you were manifesting on your own, possibly with a Virgo, if you need that sort of thing. What's the story? Could have been something having to do with your house and home, and possibly a love relationship. So it's kind of like you were manifesting self-sufficiency for yourself. This was extended to your family and a lover. The story's not over. And you were charging forward. Oh, pardon me. So sorry, Aries. Once I do a few of these, the yawns hit me. So, there could be some grief around a Leo. Someone who felt like a dream come true. Yeah, someone who you were celebrating with. And then they just took off. They were like, see ya, gone. So what is it that you're keeping to yourself these days? Your surrender. Yeah, God forbid an Aries show anyone that they're in a state of surrender. Good for you. Nobody needs to know that. That's private. Okay, so yeah, it's very, very private. This is your time to strengthen your connection with the divine. How exciting is that? Ha ha! Truth. Your truth. You're coming into your truth because of your surrender to the divine. Wow. I love that kind of stuff. So what are you missing? Somebody wants to apologize. Someone from the past. Close friend. Close childhood friend. Could be an earth sign. And it's justice. But you're not seeing that potential just yet. That's what's kind of like, Aries is looking over here, and all these apologies are coming in from over, huh? What? Oh, okay. That kind of thing. King of Swords gets the King of Pentacles. Well. Let's see here. So, could have something to do with the grief around a father. You got a lot of stuff going on, Aries, because I feel this is moving out in a few different directions. If you've lost a father, you're grieving that loss, and you're wondering when that grief is going to end. And what you may find through this Venus Retrograde and Gemini phase is that if you talk about it, it's going to change the nature of the grief. The grief is always going to be with you. It's just how much that grief has power over what you're doing now. Yeah, reach out and talk about it, with people who knew him, because you may find that very helpful and releasing. So this Tower and anxiety, yeah, it could very well be with an air sign, some sort of confrontation with an air sign that is either going to lead you to love yourself more, or will start a new beginning in love with that air sign. So let's take a look at the Lenormand for some symbolism. Pretty fast today. That's the third. Okay. So, 3 cards. We've got Clouds, which is about confusion and the fog. So that could be that whole, what did I say again? Mars and Neptune thing, or Mars and Pluto. Mars and Neptune. So the Mars and Neptune thing is there's an offer coming, and it's going to be a big one, and it's gonna cause you. It's the cross, so it's like this is it's a big deal. Whatever offer this is not something to be taken lightly. And yeah, and it has something to do with legacy, with family, with ancestors, the tree. All right, so Aries, what chakra are you going to be working through this time? I guess that's the one. The throat chakra, of course you are, because it's about communication for you, Aries. You need to reach out. You need to talk to people about the things that are on your mind so that you can move them. You need to talk to the people who are intimately familiar with the situations that are still lingering in your mind so that you can let them go at the end of this Venus retrograde cycle. All right? So have a great day.